Welcome to episode number 106 of the BEBC
BS
Podcast. And we're going to do a little something different here. Because,
Okay.
and it's a surprise to all y'all, but I just thought of this yesterday.
Scatter shooting was.
Yeah, scatter
Brain
shooting
fart.
one.
College game day. Yeah.
For the prior years, we've been going back and picking jersey numbers and who wore that jersey for all the number of podcasts. When we got to the hundreds, we didn't know what to do. So I thought we'd do a little history history lesson every week.
Mm-hmm.
So this is episode number 106. The 106th game that Allen ever played,
Yes.
1970.
Ooh.
So some of you listening may have been part of this. You may remember it.
Some of y'all might have been Wigglies.
Yeah. The opponent,
What was on his shoe?
I'm not going there.
the opponent was the Wiley Pirates.
Ooh. Did we win or did we lose?
I'll let you guess. Going into the game, the team was 1-8.
Okay.
Amo.
We could have been on a roll if that one was like the game
I think
before.
we won.
And they had scored in the 9 previous games, they had scored 14, 20, 38, 44, 60, 81 points in the previous
Okay.
9 games.
Yeah.
So in the last game of the year, the 106th game, the Wiley Pirates beat your Allen Eagles 8-0.
Wow.
8-0. Now,
But that was an
That
exciting
was a barn
game.
burner.
I'm telling you, they had one win that year, and they beat Quinlan Ford 26-0.
That's all right.
So
Well, that's better than 2003 Plano.
this is
0-10, man.
interesting. If you do the schedule, Frisco, Whitewright, Sanger, Pilot Point, Salina, Princeton, Quinlan Ford,
It had
Farmersville,
to have been 2A.
Royce City was 1A,
1A. All right.
and Wiley. Now, the 106th victory by the Allen Eagles. Ooh, see, we get a twofer.
106th victory. Was
Came-
it before or after 70?
Came 10 years later.
Dang.
1980. In the season, the team went 11-1.
Dang.
Yeah. Last game of the year, they got their 106th victory in the history of the program against the aforementioned Quinlan Ford. 35-7
Nice.
to cap off a 10-0 regular season of 5-0 district play. They would go on to win the by-district game. I shouldn't say this, that'll be 107. We'll save that for next week.
There you go.
That tells you they won.
Against somebody.
Against one. But there you go. Our little
That's pretty
throwback.
cool. I like that.
1970, 1980.
Yeah.
And we've got the history all the way back to when these guys started. So,
Who's the coach?
I need to look that up. We'll figure that out.
Something else we could do is what we started doing a while back was former players. Highlight a former player from each week.
We can do that.
Saw Fish.
We did see Fish's Twitter page this
Yeah.
morning. Lord have mercy.
Dude,
Before we
the
get
mustached fish.
yeah, Fish, if you listen,
It's like this.
what is going on? Hey,
Lordy,
if his
lordy,
girlfriend
lordy.
likes it, so be it.
Hey, fish still look better than booty.
Ah!
Yeah.
If any of you follow General Booty on Twitter, or if you don't,
Sure,
He's
the
got-
women do.
he's got the
That's-
great NIL name, and he is playing it up.
Milking it.
And this week, he did some
Why
really,
not?
really fun stuff. If you want to see
So
General
here's to
Booty
you, General.
on a horse in his underwear,
Oh my God.
there you go. Before we get started, special shout out this morning.
Thank you.
Mr. John Montgomery had a little
Yep.
medical episode at the end of last night's game. Was taken to the ER. We're glad to report that he's doing well this morning. They're running some tests to see exactly what went on with John, but everything appears to be okay with him. But it was a little scary at the end of the game, and EMT gets called over there. So, John, we want you to know we thought about you last night and checked on with some sources this morning. Glad to know that you're okay, and get well soon, brother. We talked to John, or we waved at him as he walked by the tailgate last night, so it was kind of a surprise to find out it was John. But John's one of our loyal listeners and followers, been a good friend of ours for
Friends.
years. Yeah, so. John,
They hope to have him home in time for the TCU kickoff.
Oh, okay. Which is what, 11 o'clock? He's got 2 hours.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's there. All right, guys. Week 2 is in the books for the Allen Eagles.
Yep.
A 45-28 loss to C.E. King out of Houston. And we'll talk about a lot of different things today. We kind of got sidetracked last week a little bit, and we kind of got chastised by some people for not talking about enough football. But that's kind of the
Because
first.
there was football.
More football for DeSoto than
It
there
gets you a
was for
little
Allen.
choked up
It
there,
did.
Mark.
It choked me. It choked me. So, but we're going to talk a little more in depth now that we've had a 2-week look at this team, and some of the good, some of the bad, some of the in between, the things that we see. That,
Clint Eastwood movie.
yeah, the good, bad, and Allen.
Wow.
Well, I mean, let's look at it this way. There's plenty of opportunity in the future
For
improvement.
There you go.
For
You
anything.
needed to say that.
Let's focus on that. Let's focus on what do we need to do to get better.
we will do that.
And that's from top to bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody who's lived, past raising kids understands you are never done learning. You're always going to be able to learn something. So I think that applies to everybody involved.
Yeah. And it was a tough week last week. The first game of the year, you always have questions, especially with so many inexperienced young players, first time on the big stage, new skill position players. Right, new players everywhere.
Everywhere.
You look at that, there's very few returning starters and switching positions and people who had not played varsity games. And, I think the question was asked, how many of you, had more than 150 varsity snaps, and very few hands were raised.
Right.
So it was kind of like last year when I remember Wig said he only had like 10 kids that had any varsity experience last year when he got the team. So it was a lot of turnover. And so, but now you're 2 weeks into it,
Right.
and you hope to see some improvement in some areas. You hope to see some kids step up that you weren't expecting to, and who's that going to be? And a lot of things. While I think some things were better last night, there's still plenty of opportunities, as James puts. I like the way he
Some
said that.
persistent problems, persistent behaviors. It's interesting, though, with a little bit more involvement that we had in 7-on-7. We saw a progression there.
Yep.
Now, it didn't really ever get to where we were kind of beyond the 50-50 point of being, happy in what we saw.
Right.
But there was a progression, and all these kids had not had the actual snaps in the game situation. And so now we've got 2 games, and the coaches are figuring out, okay, who's a performer, who's not, who can have the discipline to do what they practice, to do what they're supposed to do, and to execute.
Yep.
Which
Yeah.
I think execution is huge.
I think they need to, as a group or a small group, get together and decide who's going to be the leaders. Get these guys together, have conversations, and decide what they're going to do from here on out. I mean, they can practice harder, listen to the coaches and do what they're supposed to do,
Yeah.
as far as discipline and everything else.
Yeah, I used an analogy at breakfast this morning. I wanted to say that on the podcast too.
Sure.
That, there was a lot of criticism of the coaching staff last week, and one of the things that I talked about was these coaches have been coaching a long time. They know what they're doing. They've been successful. They are out there every day instructing the kids on how to do things. And I work in the real estate industry, and we build buildings, and we have architects that design those buildings. And we have general contractors who build those buildings. If those general contractors do not execute the design the way that it's supposed to be designed, there's going to be problems with the building.
There's a reason why it got designed the way it did.
There you go.
Hogan, the Allen Eagle football stadium.
There's a great example. So the coaches are doing the design.
Yeah.
And they're doing the instruction. And it's up to the kids to execute that design the way it's designed. When that doesn't happen, things like the last 2 weeks happen.
Yeah.
You know, and because I feel like anybody who's in coaching, and there's good coaches, there's okay coaches, there's great coaches. I feel like these coaches are pretty good. Now, that being said, the kids have to execute what the coaches are telling them. Now, if they're doing it to perfection, and it's not working, there's an issue. But you know, we could see last night, and we'll talk about more as we get past week here. It's time to call him. That the execution, especially on defense, there were some really big lapses that you could just see. You could see it happening as you looked at all the big plays that happened in the third quarter. So let's call him because it's.
And while we're teeing that up, let me just say one thing. If you think that every play that gets put in was not designed to be successful, you're nuts, because they're all designed to be successful.
Hello.
Coach, how are you, sir? Well,
How are you?
that's a loaded question. We're doing all right.
We're doing good, Coach. It's Saturday morning. It was 66 degrees this morning.
Oh, amen. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It felt good.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Well, how are you doing?
Doing well.
All right.
Doing, yeah.
Well, 45-28 loss last night. Another interesting game, and I think you look at it at halftime and you're up at 15 to 10, excuse me. And then all of a sudden the big plays that hadn't been shown up on defense, that they seem to find those in the third quarter.
Yeah, and you don't really know. Again, what caused them all, but man, it did. It just kind of snowballed on us in a hurry.
It did, yeah, because I looked at the stats at halftime, and y'all had held them to minus 2 yards rushing, and then the first play of the third quarter, they go 73, 75 yards. Yeah, for a touchdown.
They went more. Yeah, definitely more than -2 on that play.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what was your take on last night?
Oh man, it just I thought there were some things that we definitely got better at. I thought again, you talk about the first half defensively, and I thought we did some good things. Thought we, if you're able to make a team one-handed, I think you're always going to have a shot. We had played the run really well, which is going to give you a chance to win most ball games. And they again came out in the second half. They had that explosive run. Then they, just got the ball in space, and we missed a tackle here or there that turned into more explosive plays. And I thought offensively, we definitely took a step forward. Far from where we're going to have to be, but I thought there was some progress. I thought we did some things better across the board. I thought up front at times we executed really well, and their defensive line was very disruptive. They had a couple of defensive tackles that gave us fits all night long. But we blocked them really well at times, executed well at times, missed quite a few reads here or there. Again, it just so many times it seemed like, offensively speaking, that you're a toenail away or one guy sustaining this block another split second away from having an explosive play. But there was definitely improvement.
Well, in talking about improvements, Coach, you guys have clearly been trying a bunch of different combinations of players and trying to give a bunch of different players opportunities. I think you brought up a few more JV players. Can you kind of talk about your evaluation process and what you guys are going through? Because it's pre-district, so it doesn't really impact the district race, but
yeah. Well, we're certainly not putting them in for exploratory reasons. There's both injuries that are causing a lot of stuff to happen. But then also just trying to find the guys that across the board that like we alluded to in that second half, find guys that can make the plays in the open field, find guys that can just can do things on a consistent basis. It's again that I thought that our guys that both we got some young guys who've been playing quite a bit. Gave them a look and did different things, and we've got we're in the middle of grading film right now, but that there's all of those guys that were given looks and put on the field did some things well. I think it's safe to say that all 50 of them, 60 of them, 70 of them that stepped on the field probably did some things not so well, but that's that's part of the process. What we want our guys to know, and what we know is that every day is a competition. It doesn't matter if it's Friday night at 8:30 p.m. or if it's Monday morning at 5 a.m. I mean, it's a competition. It's a battle, and it's the best and gives us the best chance of winning. It's going to earn the right to be on the field. And they understand that, and they know that when they get put out there, there is no classification. We don't look out there and say, oh, this is a sophomore, this is a junior, this is a senior. He's out there and he's an Allen Eagle, and he's got to go and he's got to play like an Allen Eagle.
All right, so next week, Arlington Martin comes to town. They've had it seems like they had a pretty good battle with Lake Travis and lost 14-6, but then last night Cedar Hill just pummeled them, which was kind of surprising.
Yeah, I don't know what, I don't know. I did talk to their coach this week. I know they lost their quarterback for the season against Lake Travis.
Oh, wow.
But Arlington Martin, I mean, they held Lake Travis to, what was it, 13 points or something?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you do that, I don't care who you are, you're a really, really, really good defensive football team. So my guess, without seeing anything about the game, my guess is with them losing their quarterback, they probably turned the ball over. It might have even been some defensive touchdowns. Total speculation, but you don't score 33 points on Arlington Martin just by scoring 33 points.
Right.
So I think it was probably a culmination of, I bet they really, really, really struggled offensively, obviously by the score they did, but I think just by the nature of, the quarterback being out, it's tough. This game, it doesn't matter what level. It doesn't matter the level. It's so quarterback driven, right?
Right.
It's you have to play really well at that position, and they just, if they had somebody that just was going in there, then there's going to be growing pains. But I know Cedar Hill is kind of on the way back from what I'm hearing. But the score was a little surprising. But again, I bet when we look at it, I bet it makes perfect sense. I bet it was just some turnovers or some different things that kind of got it out of control.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the box score yet on that one, but we'll get to it later today.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. All right, a couple of things before we let you go.
Okay.
It's the best time of the year because college football really kicks in today.
Yeah.
Not that you get to watch a lot of it. We understand that, but you were gracious enough to pick games last year. We got three today because it's actually pretty easy the first couple of weeks because the big matchups don't happen. Although there is a big one this week. But first of all, TCU and Colorado, and I'd like to get your thoughts on what Dion's done to that roster in Colorado and how you think that's going to work out.
Well, I do think that's an intriguing game. You will win. I want TCU to win. I hope with all my hope that TCU wins. But
somebody's not a Dion fan.
Well, that's not that at all. But it's, in this day and age, the way you go in and you flip a college program, and sadly, the way that a lot of people do it in high school is find ways for people to move in and do different things. That's the nature. But when you go to a program that struggled, the way the portal exists, it's just going to be a lot of cruel moves. You're going to go in and tell everybody there, look, you don't fit, I'm changing. And the way the portal is, you can go bring 60 new guys in, and it's everyone's doing it. It's legal. It's how TCU played in the championship last year.
Right.
They had a good nucleus, but he went in and brought a bunch of people in, and it's so. I think what he did is probably what anyone would have done that went in there. I don't say that. I think Coach McGuire went to Texas Tech and didn't take that approach. But I think what he did was probably the wise thing to do. I don't think it's going to be enough to beat TCU though.
Yeah. Okay. Second game is actually where game day is today. North Carolina, South Carolina.
Yeah, and that's a hard one for me because, I love colleges, but I love coaches more than I love colleges.
Yeah.
And oh man, there's something in my gut that says South Carolina is going to beat them, and that hurts my heart. But I think I'm going to have to go with a South Carolina upset.
Okay. I like it. Out on a limb. All right, the big game of the week, which is near and dear to my heart, obviously, is LSU and Florida State.
Whoa. Tech, Wyoming. Come
on, dude. we'll get to Tech here in a minute. Playing in Orlando, a game that FSU blocked an extra point last year, a win at the very end of the game. Two top 10 teams.
Yeah.
Two quarterbacks who are going to be in the Heisman race. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, it certainly isn't going to eliminate one.
Right.
But it gets close. It gets close to eliminating what most people would say is at least two teams on the bubble. And Heisman, if somebody goes and completely lays an egg at that position, it's going to hurt their chances there. But, this is one, too, that when I grew up, I was a huge Florida State fan. It was all about Charlie Ward and all those guys back in the day. I just, I thought I'd go to Florida State, but didn't know how out-of-state tuition worked, and ended up at Angelo State instead. But it is fun for me to see Florida State back.
Yep.
But I don't think there'll be enough. I think LSU will win it.
Oh. Okay.
You're breaking Mark's heart, but that's okay.
I know.
Coach, I got Charlie Ward's signed jersey on my wall right here, and Chris Winkie and Bobby Bowden. You're killing me here.
Yes, I know. No, that's my. That was it for me. That was it. Everything I did. It was a weird combination. I was Florida State football and Georgetown Hoya basketball growing up.
That is a weird combination.
It's for my people. Yeah.
All right, last thing I want to talk to you about, because I've talked to several people about it yesterday. Your son Hayden had a big article in the paper yesterday about his football and music career, and I know you're proud. And it's very. I actually went out to Spotify because I had listened to the Lampasas song, and you and I talked about that a little bit yesterday. And what that meant to both of us now, given what my dad passing this week, your dad passing a couple months ago. But talk a little bit about Hayden and the excitement that he has, with both football and this music career that's taken off here.
Well, again, obviously I'm not with him and around him much, but I know he's excited. He's a guy that loves Texas Tech football, and he is consumed with that. And that, literally, that's 90% of his life right now. But when he's not doing that or doing class, he's having a lot of fun with this. Whether it's just sitting in his room, strumming on his guitar, or I guess lyrics popping. It's just something I think he would say that he never ever thought or dreamt that this would even be a part of his life. But it's fun. Liked that kind of stuff. I like the arts. I like music. I think it's just cool to see that talent, because it's a talent that I don't have. How that comes to people, and I don't know. It's just really neat for me to see it. Just him having another niche. I think that's what you want for your loved ones, your family, your kids you coach, your people you work with. You just want them to have place. You want them to fit, and you want them to have something that they enjoy. It makes them happy. And right now in his life, that's just one more thing that makes him happy. So it's fun as a dad to get to see it. And then, like you say, listen to him on the radio. It's just a little bit more cool when you can turn on and hear his voice and hear it. And then I enjoy listening to the lyrics again, because I'm so intrigued by that. But I just think he's clever. I think that, when I really, and I'll listen to it 1, 2, or 3 or 4 times, 5, 25 times. But I'll hear it and really, knowing my son, I'll put myself in him, and I'll either end up just laughing out loud to myself or crying, and that's the fun part to me is diving into the lyrics.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep following that and wish them best of luck against Wyoming today, James. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so
And we're not going to ask you to pick a winner because you and I'd be picking the same team.
yeah,
but we'll-
that's
yeah.
that's a homer thought for
Yeah.
sure.
That's right.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time as always, and get back into the film, and we'll get ready for Martin next week, and we'll hopefully come out with a W next week.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir. And thank y'all. And Mark, again, sorry about your loss.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Coach.
Okay.
All right,
See
we'll
y'all.
talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
There he is, Coach Lee Wigginton of the Allen Eagles. Not sure what he revealed there, much than what we didn't already know, but, like I did like what he said about, not just during the week being the competition. The competition is 8:30 at night.
Yep.
While you're out there.
Yeah.
Every day, all day.
Yeah.
Well, and also, the number of players that they brought through, they're not just bringing them through, to evaluate.
Right.
They have expectations of all of them, but then it's seeing who's going to be able to execute, who's going to be able to perform.
Who's going to be able to help?
Yeah.
Excuse me. We can dive into the numbers last night. And, boy, like I said, you looked at halftime, and those guys had 2 yards rushing. They only ended up with 98, or -2. So they didn't get that much more rushing, but they
Did
found,
on one run.
yeah.
Well, that was a big one, 70 plus yards or whatever. And
Yeah.
at that point, the tide had not completely turned either. We were into it halfway through the third quarter for sure. And I guess that one kickoff return, and we were returning a lot of them instead of, calling fair catch inside the 25, then that gets you out to the 25.
Yeah, they lost 5 yards on that
Yeah.
several times where they should have just fair caught.
Well, and that's no excuse, ball security is ball security, and the players care about it as well. They're the worst critics on themselves, so no need to beat them up on that. So they know what they need to do, and they know they need to improve, but that's the type of thing a turnover will do, is change the whole tone of a game.
Well,
Well, they-
and
you
where those turnovers are happening were killers. as well,
Deep.
too.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. And then they just started picking apart on the outsides, and they found a problem, and they just took advantage of it and just kept taking advantage of it, and
And I go back to our design, because, and again, from where we sit, front row, upper deck, you get a good angle on coverages and angles kids
Right.
take, and you can just see, you just go, uh-oh. You can see it. You're like cringing because you can see what's about
15
to
yards before he gets there, you
Yeah.
can tell he's going to overrun it, and
Yeah.
he doesn't have the right angle.
and then it's the brakes on, and by the time they turn around, and those were speedy receivers last night too. Those guys, I talked to Tenny Ianni after the game, and he said we had told those kids all week that these guys are pretty good, and that, I can't remember what he said, they could scoot or they could go, and they did.
No, there's a pass that Bricker threw to across the middle, and I think threw it behind the receiver,
Yeah.
and he was wide open. I mean, he caught that ball and it was right in his hands. He'd been gone.
Yeah.
King ended up with 466 total yards of offense and 368 passing. So I think when you see that, like Coach said, trying to make people one-dimensional,
Yeah.
they made them one-dimensional.
And that was what part of the game? The
Yeah.
third quarter on, or
Well, yeah, Matt
halfway through the
Wells-
third quarter.
Yeah, Matt Wells told me last night that they had over 240 yards of offense in the third quarter.
Yeah.
What did we say? You and I were sitting in the stands. How many points they score in the third?
28 points in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And they were off I've circled them here, a 75-yard run, first play of the third quarter.
Right.
They had an 81-yard touchdown pass. They had a 48-yard touchdown pass. And the last one was a 31-yard touchdown pass.
A lot of big plays.
A lot of big explosive plays. Caught up. 3 of the 4 were passes. The secondary is young. I mean,
It was backbreaking.
Well,
Yeah.
and we had 3 turnovers too, and that always kills your momentum. Didn't we have 3?
Two.
Two.
But I felt that they played really strong, at the first of the game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were right there.
They looked good.
They're improving. I was going, man, this is really good. This is a great turnaround from last week.
Well, let me ask you guys, because then again, we all look at it differently, but Allen gets the ball. They drive down the field. They score. Amir McDowell, who I just love.
Yeah.
I love the way that kid runs. Scores on a 17-yard touchdown. You line it for the extra point, and you miss it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how y'all feel, but I go, it's just like,
Those are chip shots. You can't miss those things.
he said that last week, the little things
Yeah, it combines.
make the big things. I wrote it down last week. I don't know what
Well, but you also got to remember
not in your
too.
book?
We got to delay a game on that.
Yes.
We got to delay a game on that because they were trying the little.
Oh,
And-
And got a
Either
second,
way.
he got a second chance. And
Yeah, it's an extra point.
Yes.
And he pushed it right.
Pushed
Yeah.
it right. He backed him up, and he pushed it right.
And I just go, you're just like, sometimes these simplest things. Remember last year, and we all had this, and everybody who's listening to the podcast heard, the center snap was a real big issue.
It
It
was.
messed up
Yeah.
the timing of every play
Yep.
all year long, and they could never get it fixed. And I just was like, this is one of those little things that you're just like, okay, now you're going to be chasing a point all night.
Right.
And for the first 3 scores, that's what they ended up after the field goal. They kicked a field goal, and then the next 2 touchdowns, they were chasing that point.
Right.
Well, if they don't write this, that's going to be game winners, losers. Right at the crucial part of the game.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
you're
could
going
be.
to be down by 2 points, and field goal is going to be missed.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so those are the kind of things that I look at and go, it's just, it tears at your heart a little bit, and you're just like, oh, can we not just have one drive happen, everything go well,
Right.
you score a touchdown, you kick extra point, hallelujah.
And then you got a big run coming, and the umpire makes the tackle.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That was wild.
Now we don't include that in the highlight videos. We've got a couple of the short touchdown runs, but gosh,
that's us looking back at being spoiled and everything that we've had in the past.
Yeah.
And
But you
we
just-
all knew the day was going to come. We
Yeah.
just got to hang with it.
Hey, listen,
they'll turn
we'll
it
be there
around.
every week. I just, for the kids' sake and for the coach's sake, you want something clean,
Yeah.
You want a clean game.
Yeah.
You want kids to be in the right position, take the right angles, make the right tackles, make the right blocks, not get injured, not get cramps, not pass out.
Not pass out.
Yeah.
All the things that have been happening, you're just like, you just feel like you're being avalanched.
Right.
Well, and I'll say this kind of in general, that goes along with what we had been talking about as far as lifting the players up and supporting the players from a fan's perspective. But then from a player's perspective, there's got to be a very high level of support between players as well. So you don't want the players, jumping on the other ones, criticizing overly. There's going to be some of that, and it's necessary to hold people accountable. Yeah. But you want everybody working in sync, saying, okay, all right, it happens. Let's get past it. Let's move forward. Let's go.
And it's hard because if you're playing football, typically, you're very competitive.
Oh, yeah.
You've got a competitive drive. You want to win. You want to do things right. And it's hard when you look across the field and maybe your compadre over there didn't do something right. And he knows to do it right, but for whatever reason it did happen. It's really
And
easy.
he knows he did it wrong.
Yeah.
So.
And it's an emotional game.
And you don't need to remind him.
Yeah. He feels bad enough as it
Yep.
is. You don't need to get all in his face.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a way to teach and there's a way to instruct. I always felt worse when I get in trouble with my parents when they sat down and talked to me about it. That was always the worst. Just spank me and let's go on. Get it over with, but to have to sit there.
Why are you looking at
You
me?
like to be spanked?
So did this happen a lot, Mr. Nolan?
You know what I mean? It's just that's
No,
but
it's-
that's how
it's-
you learn.
Hey,
Yeah.
no.
You too. Quit hijacking the podcast.
No, it's true. And these kids, I mean, got to remember perspective. 15, 16, 17-year-olds.
Yep.
I had a hard time getting my 15, 16, 17-year-olds to do what they knew to do and what I told them to do.
What you just talked about is what other teams were beating themselves up about when we were beating them 60 and 50 and whatever to nothing,
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the same thing.
Yeah, this isn't anything new. It's
No.
like you say, it's our turn to be where we're at.
Exactly.
And, love the kids, love the boys, pump them up. After the game last night, David did a great job. Josh Johnson came out. And poor Josh, he's a defensive lineman. He's down there with Tank. And
He looked depressed.
he did. And then he was walking by our tailgate as we were cleaning up, and David stopped him. David, told him, pull your head up, here's a Gatorade.
Yeah, I just told him, I said, man, you were in every play there. You made some great stops, and you were in the backfield. I mean, doing a great job. Keep your head up. It'll get better.
Yeah.
Just everybody needs to pull together.
Yeah.
There's got to be hope.
Yes.
And there was a study that was done that they talked about talking to players, rewarding players for performance versus the effort that they give. And they found so much more improvement by evaluating and commenting on the effort that they gave versus the results, either negative or positive.
Yeah.
If you ride somebody because they made a mistake.
Kind of like I ride you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's love.
Wait, that didn't sound right.
Tough love. Hey, from a Razorback fan, I'll take that.
Kissy love.
It did
But
not sound right.
But it's the players going to pump the other person up.
Yep.
Who's going to take them and say, hey, man, get it next time, okay? And not put them down and not argue and not complain. And just everybody pull together.
Yeah.
And that's what they need to do.
They're young.
They are young.
They'll get it. They'll figure it out.
It's one of the things that I look for, and I think it's been easy to tell over the years, who are your team leaders? Who are the people that are going to step up?
And build the other, and make the other players better.
Exactly.
Get the best out of them.
Be the leader. Don't be the problem.
I
be
honestly
the leader.
think we're going to see improvement each week. I mean, I really do. I think it's going to get really good.
Great example. The kickoffs last night. Much better than they switched kickers. And I'm going to give him a shout out because he did great. Ethan Bowman, started, he didn't kick off initially, but he took over the kicking duties after the first kickoff, and I think all but one made it to the end zone, which was an improvement.
One almost, bounced back. It's at the
That was
2-yard
close,
line.
wasn't it?
Where
They
they
started
given up
going
on it.
they'd
Oh,
given
God,
up on
please
it.
bounce back. And
was
just
so close.
barely made it in the end zone.
Yeah, but he got everything into the end zone, which was an improvement over the previous week.
Yep.
And so there's one area you look at and go, okay, that was better. Okay? The running game was actually pretty good last night for the most part. There were times, there's still a lot in it, because I tracked the plays last night for the entire first half. And there were some negative plays, but there were several, I've still got it, there were several in the teens when you look at the runs.
They ran hard.
Yeah,
they weren't going to go down.
Well, and the offensive line, I saw lots of improvement with the offensive line. Now, part of that is attributable to, like, DeSoto. Their defensive line was just a bunch of big men out there.
Yeah.
Big
Because
dudes.
when you look at the rushes, you get here's the yardage for like each individual rush: 8, 9, 9, 15, 7, 9, 7, 9, 8, 8, 17, 8, 19, 16.
That's a good streak right there.
Those numbers add up, and they ended up with, what they had rushing last night? 179 yards rushing. Averaged almost 4.5 yards a rush.
We got to the point to where we couldn't run the ball anymore. We're so far behind, we had to start throwing the ball.
Yeah. And Bricker had an okay game. He was at 60%, no interceptions, and that's a plus.
That's a
because
good
that's not a turnover. They got to learn to hold on to the football.
Yeah.
Fumbles, turnovers for a young team, again, playing mistake-free is critical for these guys.
And they got to the point to where they had to throw the ball, and the other team knows it. They're going to unleash everybody.
Yeah.
Because it takes longer for those receivers to get downfield.
And that
Hence,
offensive line.
the crossing patterns.
Yeah. The offensive line suffered an injury last night, so they had replacements in there. And so
And we're not deep.
they got to work this week on next man up. Who's going to be the next man to step up and take somebody's place. And that's an opportunity that you were talking about earlier. Maybe somebody who they didn't look at as being a full-time contributor starter will step up now that the opportunity is there, and become a player that they didn't see coming.
And just recall the running back situation back in the days with DeSoto, where Ward came in and took over, and we were all just shocked. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
He just carried the team.
Yeah, and all three of those kids, Mekhi Ellis and Jackson Lyons and McDowell, they all run hard. I mean, I give them credit. Mekhi last night, he's the one that took out the umpire.
Yeah.
Or the umpire took him out, one of the two, or at least slowed him down. But those kids do run hard, and you give them a little seam, and you get the numbers like you see. Now, we need the breakaway run. That'll be nice to see. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Caleb Smith has that opportunity on the jet sweep and all that too. And you notice teams are kicking away from him on kickoffs.
Yeah.
Not giving him that opportunity, but the offense is trying to work him in to get him the ball. So I think the coaches are working. Again, they're not mad scientists in there. They're just doing what they can do. We're going to have to turn the TV off because Nolan has not said a word. He says watching game day.
Do you want me to get him to say a word?
No, I don't know if I do or not. After last week, he might be done for the year.
One of the observations that I had kind of had halfway through the game.
Oh, now you hush.
And some other people brought it up, right? So a lot of the plays ended up going kind of out to the flats, bubble screen, tunnel screen, whatever. Some of them were pretty effective, but there was a lot of going out to the sides and trying to get around the edge, when the middle was all blocked up. And it'd be nice to see some downfield type of activity.
Yep. We said that
Crisscross.
For years.
Yep.
on a different set of coaches. Where everything is a lot of east-west as opposed to north-south. And it just seems to me, and I'm not sure every team is like this, but of course there was a lot of speed on the field the last 2 weeks on the opponents these guys have played. They can get, that's a hard play to get to. You know, when you try to go around the edge, if all the blocks don't happen, it's an issue.
Yeah, and when you watch the running plays and the handoff between the quarterback getting the ball and then handing it off to the running back, if it looks like it's taken a long time to develop, that's not by design necessarily, because the defense is seeing that as well, and they're able to react.
Those linebackers, quarterback turns around and is purposely doing this. Well, they see that and they're going to attack.
Yeah.
Got to be some type of hidden,
Pull it back.
draw type stuff and play action.
That's an experience and maturity issue too.
It is.
Quarterback and running back wise.
Allen ends up with 380 yards total offense, 201 passing, 179 rushing. They did have the 2 fumbles and turnovers, only 5 penalties, which is good. I thought one of the coaches was going to get kicked out last night.
Yeah.
That referee threw that flag so high.
Yeah.
He was like, I thought somebody said something at first.
But sideline warning.
It was a sideline warning. Boy, the way he threw that thing, I thought somebody is fixing to go home. It was bad. Amir McDowell led the rushing attack with 60 yards. Mekhi Ellis, 55. Jackson Lyons only had 5 carries last night, but he averaged almost 6 yards a carry.
Mekhi Ellis looked like he ran a lot more than that. I mean, he was just kind of back and forth through that line.
Yeah,
Trying to find holes left and right.
He was the horse last night with 16 carries. On the receiving end, they moved Messiah back to the receiver from DB. He did play some DB last night, but he led the team with 6 receptions for 77. Quentin Q had 4 for 49. Do we have his interview?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we interviewed Q after the game, talked to him for a little bit, and so we'll have that plugged in here.
Mekhi was given that number 6 fits over that on the defense. I mean, penalties left and right. All they had to do is throw the ball left to Mekhi and
You mean Messiah? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we saw a couple of those plays where they basically, put it up where he could go get it, and he did. And
He can climb the ladder.
Yeah.
Donnell G came back from injury last week, and he played.
That was good to see.
He had 4 for 41. So, your top 3 receivers had 14 catches, and they averaged about almost 12 yards a catch. So, that's success.
Right. And if you get rid of the turnovers, it's a much different game.
It keeps you in it a little bit better.
Yeah.
So, Arlington Martin next week. They
They've
come
had
in
an
0
interesting
0
run,
2.
yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see which. I'm going to go back and look at their box score and see if Wig was right on that.
Yeah.
If they had turnovers or what might have caused them to get. They were down 33-0, and I think it ended up being 33-2 was the final.
There was a more of a dominating performance as opposed to Allen
Yeah.
versus C.E. King, where we were in it till late.
So they come in 0-2. Allen comes in 0-2. I've heard
Boy,
from.
when's the last time that ever happened?
I was just going to say,
Well, Allen hasn't been 0-3 since 1997. So let's not tie that record. To
Right after their 100 and, what'd you say? 6.
That was
be
1980.
careful now. You've said like 10 words.
Yeah, I can look up real quick and see that
My
1997
mama said
team.
if you can't say anything nice.
Oh
you
my
don't say
God!
it.
Here we go.
Now, your mama's your wife.
Wow. Think about that.
Maybe.
You get whipped every day.
No, I don't get wet.
That team was in
Your mom
10-5
can I have a beer tonight?
1997. They went 0-3 to start the year, and then they finished up 4-7, made the playoffs, and lost in the first round. So, see, there is hope. So, anyhow, that's the last time
Yeah.
they started 0-3. So, we'll see what happens next week. So, anybody else have anything? College football, go pooey, suey, what is it?
Poop,
Woo,
pig,
pig, suey.
That's it.
Whoa,
Yeah.
phooey, pig
As
suey.
David's wearing the shirt, it's Hook'em Week. Boy, I'm excited about those guys. Man, they have so much talent at wide receiver this year.
Oh my gosh, it's good. It's going to be exciting.
Coach.
Yeah.
To,
I'll say all you want.
Next week will be the tell.
you know what?
That'll be
We'll
the-
talk next year when they come back to Fayetteville next year. Then we'll have a conversation together.
You mean kind of like how Keller's not a really good team at all, and they beat the.
Hey,
Oh, that hurts.
Snot.
That hurts me so bad.
you bought the shirt. You bought the shirt.
What shirt?
That blue shirt.
I have to.
What was the score? 49-0.
kid.
I gotta support the kid.
49-0.
That's awesome. But for those that don't,
I don't know, and I don't care.
Nolan's
Okay, I
daughter
will say this:
Kaylee.
my alma mater,
There you go.
Thomas Jefferson High School,
Nolan, scoot back again.
won last night for the first time like in 8 years.
That is awesome.
And you're
they-
giving me grief?
Hey, that's good for those kids.
Yeah, it
How
is.
awesome is that? It's good for
Who'd they
David,
play? A non-UIL sanctioned school?
Yeah.
too. Hey, whatever it takes.
Something
brother.
school for the blind? What'd you say?
The Arkansas School for the Blind.
No.
Hey,
y'all be nice.
A win is a win, no matter.
That's
how many
right.
points
Hey,
it is.
we'll
Hey, trust me.
And a loss is a loss. Like
We're looking for
like
one.
49-0.
yeah, we'll bring this back to.
And my parting thought is, no matter who you are, coaches or players, make good decisions.
Yeah.
Goodness
Let's-
gracious.
Sports kids, sports coaches, sport
I don't know
district.
what that was all about. Oh,
We will have highlights
News at 11.
an interview with Q at the end of this, so stay tuned for that next. So
did you tell them why I have to support them down south here just a little bit?
I tried to, and you wouldn't shut up.
Oh, sorry.
I was
What
trying
was
to
in
give
'em?
your daughter some love.
Yeah.
Kaylee Schrader is now the head varsity cheer coach at Plano West High School. So that
Upgrade.
is why Nolan bought a shirt. So,
Upgrade.
Kaylee, good luck, girl. Hang in
That's
there.
right.
With the West Side.
We need to change our minds about.
Remember, if
playing
you can find
football.
anybody, guy or girl, that can do jump splits, put them in.
Why would he know that?
I don't know, but it was pretty funny.
We got the video, man.
Hey, thanks to everybody who listened last week. We had record number of views, and
Wonder why.
it was crazy. So we appreciate that. And if
Yeah,
that's
don't
what it
expect that every week. But
takes,
yeah.
hit the subscribe
Might
button.
be a
and
new-
Make sure you don't miss something like that, because you never know when it might happen again. Man. So until next week, folks, it's over, and we are out.
Peace.